So let me close with 5 reflections briefly from the life of Judas. The first thing I'll say is this, is you can say all the right things and still have the wrong motives. You know it's possible for people to say the right things and then do the exact opposite of that? You can say all the right things and have the wrong motives. We need to feed the poor. Why? We need to take care of people. Why? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying why. Check your heart. Check your motives. Are you doing it out of selfish ambition, greed, or pride? Or are you doing it because you really love to serve and bless other people? Number 2 is you can know the Bible and you can still not believe it. Information without application is deception. And you'll just be held more accountable to God for your rebellion. Sitting in church week after week, hearing the same sermon week after week, not responding to the gospel or applying it to your life leads to a hard heart and judgment upon yourself. You can know the Bible, quote the verses, and you could still not believe it at all. The third thing we learn is this: you can go to church and still go to hell. We are not saved by our church attendance. We are not saved by our position on the serve team. We are not saved by hosting a small group. We are not saved by our denomination, by our tradition. We're saved by grace, through faith, not by our works, so that no one can boast. You can go to church. You can be raised in the church. You can be baptized in the church. You can get married in the church. You can have your funeral in the church. And you can close the casket, close your eyes, wake up in hell. Some of you are wondering, you've been through church before, you've been through church hurt, you've gone through spiritual abuse, and you've distanced yourself from the church, and you've wondered, Christians, how could a Christian do this? How could a church do this? Maybe they weren't Christians, maybe they were Judas. Maybe you're Judas. Fourth thing is this: you can be in ministry and you can still not be in Christ. For pastors, elders, deacons, church leaders, and those who desire leadership in the church, this should be like a kick in the soul. A lot of times people go into ministry because it makes it feel good about themselves. Seminaries are filled with people who are narcissists and don't really care about anyone other than themselves. It's possible that you could be in ministry. Look at all the things that I do. I'm a small groups. I'm leading a serve team. I've traveled the world. I've been a missionary. I've been to Spain. I've been to Portugal. I went to South Africa. Jesus says, actually, teaching to the disciples, there are many who will prophesy in my name. Lord, Lord, did we not cast out demons? Prophesy in your name. He'll say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. You can be in ministry, full-time ministry. You can get paid by a church. And you don't have to love Jesus to do it. One thing that I have to check myself all the time, listen, I don't have to pray to preach a good sermon. You know that, right? I probably shouldn't say this on the live stream. We'll edit out later, but I'm pretty good at preaching. I mean, I'm not the best, but I can put 3 points in an illustration in a closing that'll make you cry. Just like Judas did. I don't have to seek the Lord to preach a sermon. I could go online and steal it. I don't have to pray to be a pastor or a ministry leader. I can emotionally manipulate you, twist you, and make you feel really good about yourself. And if I'm not walking with Jesus because I'm too busy working for Jesus, I'm Judas. Being in ministry is not the same thing as being in Christ. And the fifth thing we see is this, is you can start well and you can still fall short. The last day is the most important day of your life. It doesn't matter how you begin. I was talking with a young woman between services today. And she has a past of drug addiction and prostitution, and she has a past of just horrible abuse. And over the last year in COVID, she relapsed back into her addiction, and she comes forward with tears in her eyes. She wasn't raised in church. She didn't grow up in church. She doesn't know any of these Bible stories. And so this is her first time to actually hear a sermon over Judas. And she had tears in her eyes. And she came up to me with a big smile. She said, Pastor, I may not have started very good, but I'm going to finish well. I'm reminded of, off the top of my head, what Paul says in the book of Philippians, he who began a good work in you will see it to completion. God's not done with you. If you're not dead, God's not done. Finish strong.